Okay, good. We are live. Welcome, everybody. Akasha here with my very glamorous headdress. And welcome to the Infinite Show. So I have had ear surgery, and this glamorous thing is to just cover up my head bandage. So don't worry, I don't have any weird diseases. And but I really didn't want to miss this chance to have Debbie on the show. And I think you're going to love it. So I'm going to start by saying, and if you have any questions about ETs and shamanism, this is the woman to ask. So go ahead and put it in the chat. And I'm going to start by just showing her bio and everything so you can see where to find her. And we'll go ahead and see how, oh, good. We're pretty quick. So, all right. So thank you for joining me. I want to make sure that you understand where to find me. So if you subscribe at nanakasha.com, we'll send you notifications of all these shows and live streams and live readings and soul lineage readings and the Intuition Awakening Summer Camp on manifesting and releasing emotional trauma and changing your timelines, and all that good stuff is coming up. So check that out at the shop. And we've got the Avalon retreat coming up as well. However, Debbie and I are speaking at a Glastonbury conference. So I'm going to give you that link as well in September. So today we're going to talk about Galactic Shamanism and ETs with Debbie. So here's a little bit about Debbie. She is a 17-year award-winning Dare to Dream podcast focused on extraterrestrials, channeling, UFOs, shamanism, and cutting-edge spirituality. So as a certified shamanic energy practitioner, she facilitates powerful private and group shamanic healing sessions. She's been featured on GAIA TV, Coast to Coast, and 2,000 other media outlets, and has spoken at all of these amazing events: ufology, LA Conscious Life, Lyrian, Starseed, Portal. I think that was supposed to say, oh yeah, Portal at Sea. You're going to go to that. I don't want to go on a cruise ship, so I'm a no for that one. And she coaches authors to write a highly engaging book and makes your book a guaranteed bestseller. And I know she's very good at helping you become visible. So if you're in this world and you want to get out there, contact Debbie. And she's a founding member of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. So that sounds interesting. So you can find her at, is that Dachinger? Is that right?
Here in the US, we say Dachinger.
Ah, so much more elegant, isn't it? DebbieDachinger.com. And so I want to, let's see. So I'm just going to put this up quick before we go back to Debbie, because I want you to start to play with these ideas. Not normal for me to really talk directly about ETs. We talk about all the other dimensions. We talk to the gods, the goddesses, the nature spirits, the fairies, the realms. We channel all of them and we move around through the dimensions. But I think this is super interesting because shamanism is truly one of my favorite things that I've been trained in. And I combine everything together, but it holds ancient truth. It grounds you into a multidimensional paradigm that gives you access to so much about yourself and so much that we're awakening to. So one of the shamans that I love to follow said recently that of course, we know we're in this accelerated evolution right now, and things are falling apart very quickly, and it's a big hot mess. So you got to master your mind and master your emotions so you don't get caught up in everybody else's drama, because it is not that, and what you feel and think is going to create your own reality. However, he said, so we've blasted open the doors to heaven and hell, and it's up to you to decide what you focus on. So I think that's a really great way of putting what's happening right now. And I watched the opening ceremony for the Olympics, and I have to tell you, I was crying. I was inspired. It was out of this world. So we watched it on a replay, so it took 3 nights, but I highly recommend that you do that. So think about opening your mind and think about your DNA, because there's so much new information coming forward about our DNA, way more than you're reweaving another strand of DNA. It just goes way beyond that and way beyond this medical idea that your DNA is stuck and you have to get breast cancer because your mother did. That's bullshit. So don't go there. Okay. So let's look at what shaman means, where shamanism began, and think about, are you connected to these ideas? Do you feel drawn to them? Have you had some shamanic experiences that perhaps ayahuasca or other plant medicine. Maybe you've worked with different shamans. Maybe you've gone to someone like Debbie or I, and you feel like this is something very important to you. Now, how about ETs or UFOs? When I lived in New Mexico, saw a lot of UFOs. It's one of those places, right? Have you had any past life or genetic connection to either of these topics? What kind of higher consciousness can be accessed through portals and ayahuasca and other ceremonial type plant medicines? And we're going to explore all these things with Debbie now. And how can these out of body experiences, my favorite right now, I'm just traveling the realms while I'm resting and healing my body, help you free yourself from lack and trauma and awaken those deeper soul powers. Okay, Debbie, there's a big agenda for you.
My shaman sister. It's so good to be here with you, Nan.
Yeah. So tell us any way that you want to like introduce yourself more, or how you want to proceed with this amazing topic.
It is an amazing topic, isn't it? I'm passionate about it. And I'm probably passionate about it because I have had multiple past lives as a shaman, male or female, and as an ET as well. So how I would introduce myself specifically is the work I do. Yes, visibility, absolutely. And so doing this now work, the shaman work and the extraterrestrial work, big surprise, was not where I was mindfully headed. But I've always been deeply spiritual, into channeling and all that stuff. And a little bit judgmental, frankly, about UFOs and all of that. And then, I had huge awakenings. So here I am doing radio and podcasts for 17 years, being a book coach, helping people take their books to guaranteed bestseller, and also doing some publicity work for spiritual messengers. And many years ago, I had a calling to do ayahuasca. And another thing I judged, by the way. And so, in this world, when you say no to something that's going to move your needle, it's going to come back. So that's where my journey continued and where it brought me to all these tremendous openings. And thankfully, along my path, I was never resistant. Different from when I was judgmental. That was separating. But when I saw and learned truth and it was presented to me, done. I was in 100%. I was also incredibly curious. And so that opened me up to learn so many things. Some of it was by virtue of my research, and a lot of it was by virtue of divine synchronicity that they kept showing me and showing me and showing me, for which I am very grateful. To this day, it still happens. And so the work I do out in the world is still the podcasting, and I still do some of the media stuff. And I'm very deep into the shamanic world, not the medicine. I don't serve it. And I don't really drink it these days anymore. I feel complete today with that. However, I do these healing sessions. So right now I'm in the middle of a group entire month. We meet once a week and everybody in the group gets a 1-hour healing session. It's so beautiful. And then in a couple of months in September, I am offering animal medicine, animal spirit medicine, so people can understand the divine wisdom that these animals carry and what they mean to us. Most people don't understand a lot of the problems, like boundaries, for instance, is deeply connected to the yama, cleverness, and also taking the staff, the sovereignty of who you are as the fox. So there's all these beautiful things I'm going to teach people about animals, plus what they can do in meditation, in journey, so they can start to incorporate this in their lives to heal. So that's really what I'm about. And the final piece is we have a back house we turned into a healing temple, and we are doing shamanic healing there, where, just community. People can come live. You can come from anywhere and join us. And then we also do music. I sing. And so Rob and I perform too after the shamanic healing. So it's beautiful. We have a fire pit, we do fire ceremony and all of that.
Wow. I love that. And that's in California.
That's in Burbank, California. Yeah. In the Valley.
Perfect. I lived in LA for many years. Yeah. in San
Everyone
Diego.
did at some point.
I did. Right out of college, I got a degree in fashion design and headed to the beach. I didn't want to go to New York. I wanted to go to the beach, beach. So wonderful. Well, I live in Mayan land, and so I love that ability to incorporate all these shamanic things in your daily life like that too. And I know that you said that you and Rob work together with this music and the other kind of guided journeys and everything. This phenomenal partnership.
Yeah, it's nice how that manifested. Also, something I gave it up. I was a singer literally my entire life. And when I got into radio, it was so much. There was just so much of me. And I was, running this like full-time show and coaching people. I was writing books. I had so much going on. And I thought, I have to go back. At the time I was with a jazz band and a big band. It was painful, but I had to say, I can't do this anymore. And I had to follow the money too, right? I mean, you don't get much money as a creative artist. And so I did, and I had no regrets. I was thrilled with my path. And then, years later, also from ayahuasca, I have had 3 times where it's changed my life completely. And the other one was when, I was on San Pedro. And the divine came and said, sweetie, what happened to music? What happened? I used to play violin. I used to play guitar. I sang. And I just, shared it with the shaman afterwards in integration. And shamans don't usually speak during integration, but thankfully he did to me. And he said, Debbie, you must start singing again. You must. Music is in you. And then he told a story about himself and how he had let it go and how he brought it back. And I only knew him as an amazing flautist. He played the most beautiful flutes from all over the world. And to think that he had also given up music for a spell. And so it was really inspiring. And that was a big change. So yes, the music's a big part of it.
Well, and music is another language, right? I mean, it changes our mood, of course, any kind of music. However, it's a medicine.
Yeah, I love that you said it just like that, because it's transcending. Absolutely it is. And it is my first language. It's how I process things and think and know and all of that. So much better for me than English.
Yeah. So tell us about your most powerful ayahuasca experience, because I was kind of like you. I wasn't interested at all. For several years, I was living in San Diego. I was speaking at a lot of events. I kept running into people who were like, oh, we're going to get some ayahuasca and go to my house and puke in the sink. I'm like, no, thank you. And I was waiting, right, for the right shaman. I wanted a sacred experience with that. And so my first night was just pure frustration. Yeah. Madre just kicked all the frustration out of me. And the second night was just friggin' epic, and it was just one of those absolute life-changing experiences.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say 2 of them super powerful. One was last year. I was in the middle of a shamanic training and I got the call. Grandmother Ayahuasca tapped me and I said, oh, I haven't drunk in a while. Oh, okay. I think she wants me to sit with her because she's going to give me some shaman downloads. I was really wrong. And I went there, and Friday night was rough. She just hours and hours and hours of cleaning my relationship with my mother. And I had to surrender. I couldn't resist. It was just like a tsunami. And so grateful, because a week and a half later, my mother's health changed, and then she passed away shortly after that. So how loved am I, as anybody who follows the wisdom of the plant, that it would orchestrate, this session, because I was good. I was good with my mom, and I was able to show up as a shaman and give her the death rites, the shamanic death rites, help her pass over the rainbow bridge into the light, and, make sure who was there to bring her the light beings. And that was...
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And the other one I'll say was the one many, many years ago when I left country and I went to Costa Rica and I drank 4 nights in a row back to back. And the divine showed up and said, Debbie, you're a healer, you're a priestess, and you are a shaman. I'm on medicine going, what? I had no context, Nan. I didn't even understand. Like, and so I said weird things. I was on medicine and I argued and I said, I'm not going to see dead people. And what are you talking about? Like, those are people who come on my show. Those are my friends. No. So the next night she came and said the same thing. And she worked with my hands to show me healing. The third night she came and she showed me dead people. And it wasn't scary. And the last night she came and then she insisted I go to the front of the room and ask the shamans. And these were real shamans, like decades in the jungles.
Yeah.
And she said, you ask them for a shaman's blessing, a blessing that you are a shaman. 20 minutes. I said, no, that's embarrassing. Look at who I'm not. And she wouldn't give up. So I finally acquiesced. I went to the front of the room. I spoke to the shaman. He was so beautiful. And he said, yep, go back to the mattress and I want you to come up here in 5 minutes. We will do it. And when that was done and I thought, I'm going to go back to my mattress, she then came in and said, now go to that female shaman and I want you to call her sister. And I want you to tell her you need a blessing to understand your shaman's path. She did in Spanish. And it was, I understand enough Spanish because I sing in 5 languages. And it was really breathtaking. And I came back to the United States, Nan, and I was like, I do not understand this. And a friend of mine said, let me give you some past life regressions. Let's just see. And the first one we did, I saw myself as a male shaman. I experienced the life. It was just beautiful, a Native American. And the next week we did another, and I saw myself as a over 7 foot tall, very, very, very slender, a woman, Mayan specifically, and she was the leader of her people, a priestess living in a temple. And I spent the day with her. And before I left, I said, like, how you're so powerful. How do you create the way you do? I've never seen anything like it. And I had these assumptions. And she shook her head and raised her finger and telepathically said to me, I am not from here. I may be of the Mayan, but I am from another galaxy. And I come out, and that was like the poof end of the whole judgment with the UFO. Like, there is me. There is a lifetime of mine where I am that, and at least one. And we all know it's probably many, many.
Yeah.
And so that was a game changer because that's when everything opened up. I went deeply on the shamanic path to understand, and all I found was this passionate resonance with who these people are, what they represent, what they can do, what is possible for me, even though I'm coming at it in this lifetime in a very different stance. And also this whole idea of that I've had a galactic history, that I'm originally from the Elohim and the Lyra and the Antares Stargate. And like, it's phenomenal. And it explains my gifts and my purpose and all of this. And then I realized one day they intersect. Where those of us into this have been waiting for first undeniable contact. I mean, we've been contacted by ETs since the beginning of history. And shamans have worked powerfully with the extraterrestrials and otherworldly realms for healing and to serve their community. And I realized we're at a crossroads. So like you spoke eloquently, Nan, at the beginning, how important it is about what you choose. And I realized if we were to choose more, like what the shamans do every day and the indigenous, to respect the planet, to have relationship with the mountains and the rivers, to really serve each other, what a different world this would be.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's so profound. It's like, it sounds weird, but watching the Olympic game, the opening, they had all these musicians and dancers, and they were showing the people coming in on boats in the Seine in Paris. And there was something amazing. And then my first mystery school teacher, we went to Egypt and we did all these, we had 4 hours, 2 days in a row in the Great Pyramid activation and all this incredible stuff. And everywhere we went, when we started, we would sing Imagine by John Lennon. And it was a thing with him. It was in all the books that we got, and he would channel, sometimes bring in John and things. And they played that with this woman floating in the river. and the big light up sign behind, and I could not stop crying. And I was watching all these people come together while we're seeing this separation and this anger and this war. All these people, different colors, different countries, you know, all these places. They even created a refugee team for people who are refugees from their country. And I was overwhelmed with the beauty that we can create as a culture instead of what we have been taught and what we have seen. And yeah, for me, it started with the earth, and the animals came to me, started speaking to me, energy medicine, and then the shaman, and then the goddess culture for 16 years. And it's all the same. It's that respect for life in every form, right? Connecting every day. I walk in multiple worlds every day, communicating with everything all the time. And it's a completely different reality than most people live in. And we, like you said, I read recently that some scientists think we only need 6% of the planet to start living this way, to start thinking this way.
Oh, that's great. They used to say 10%. So I like the numbers gone. I think our population's gone up, but the numbers have gone down percentage-wise.
Yeah, I think with the energies, right? Yeah, it's so powerful. And I love that. It's like, you know, the idea of ayahuasca or mushrooms or other sacred medicine, of course, has just exploded into all kinds of different ways of using it in some form. But the idea that it's a portal, that it's a doorway for this invitation, for this communication, and that you had these powerful experiences. I absolutely love it. This invitation, right? And these directions and this experience to show you who you really are and give you guidance, like, you know, completely redirect you. And when you said, when I came back to the United States, it was like, you weren't the same person. I was just looking at you and you were like, well, who am I? And what am I supposed to do? And do I want to be in this country, or where do I want to live? And yeah, and that idea of those portals. So we've kind of looked at shamanism and the natural world. Now bring us into how, you know, extraterrestrials. So like you said, the star people, right? All of the Natives Americans. I used to live in New Mexico, and oddly, I studied a little bit with the Hopi, but mostly with a Lakota Sioux shaman, not from that area. However, you know, all these cultures track the stars. The stone circles in England, they're time portals. They're energy, gathering earth energies to open these portals to communicate with these other realms. It's been going on for a long time. So it really isn't that unusual. But the idea I think people have is like, why doesn't the government show us the ETs and tell us the truth? And I think you're looking in the wrong place for that solution and that information, because it's always been here.
Yes, it has always been here. And it shows, you know, I have pictures of ancient cave art that is phenomenal. And it shows that way back when all they had was a chisel and a cave wall, they were depicting extraterrestrials. I have pictures of Egyptologists who have pulled out pieces from Egypt, and they show, it's really interesting, they show these machines, I'll call them, in the sky that look like helicopters, and some they're like rudimentary spacecraft. But the extraterrestrials have been involved with planet Earth for a very long time. There's so much I could say. So let's start like 50 to 60,000 years ago on this planet. The ETs actually lived here. And we are not talking about the ETs that we know today who are Lyra or Vega, because Pleiades or Sirian, we are not talking about, because this was like a long time ago and they were not advanced enough. We are talking about the Lyra Vega. And so they were a mix. They lived amongst the people. And so let's say one tribe of humans did ceremonies that involved a deer. So off in the distance would be the ETs who wanted to fit in. They also had some kind of deer symbology. They looked enough like us, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, etc. And they blended very, very well. They have always known, the benevolent extraterrestrials, they have one protocol, and that is to help our civilization to advance. These are not malevolent beings. These are people who have watched us, and they knew that to fulfill their protocol, to help uplift humanity, that even if it took, and it has, tens and tens of thousands of years, they would wait for us. And so we fast forward 13,000 years ago, and they had to extract themselves visibly because we were at a period of time with humanity where people would treat extraterrestrials like gods, and that is not their protocol. So instead, they would visit us, for instance, in the dream state and work with us there. And then you fast forward to now. And as you said in the beginning, all this ascension is happening. This is a time of great change. It is a time when the Peruvian Incas, who is my lineage, they talk about the Pachacuti prophecy. And the Pachacuti is about the time to come. That's what the word means, literally, Pachacuti. And so the Pachacuti is everything. It's the rise of the divine feminine. It's the shaking up of the world so we can finally get it right. It is showing the underbelly of all that is destructive. I had to come up with a good word, but destructive and not serving us so that we can make new choices. And at the same time, the extraterrestrials, they are watching, they are aware, they are wanting us very much to get it together. We don't have to be perfect, but to get it enough together, to heal enough that they can come and invite us into the galactic community and create relationship, because after all, they are family. We share DNA.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Isn't that interesting too? I think that the conspiracy theories are interesting, and yet when they're based in fear, they're based in that patriarchal kind of idea of us against them and war and who did this to me and how dare you screw around with me and all of this kind of stuff. And I remember when it really became a conversation, I laughed and I said to Chris, I said, your dog is GMO'd, right? Roses are GMO'd, food is GMO'd. Why would you think that we would be able to create a body in one go that does the things that we need to do, especially since, we have all of the 9 waves of consciousness, as the Mayan pyramids are built on, to build the physical reality so that we could have these higher states of consciousness come in for us. And so I love that message that you have, is that what we're talking about is accessing sisters and brothers of light and love. Those that, just because it's like a wise elder watching you when you're young, or you have your first wand and you're blowing shit up, right? You just like, like, woohoo, pow, okay, you've got some power now. Let's, get some wisdom with that. And what our choices are. But I feel like we're past that stage of feeling separate, feeling judgment, feeling not good enough. And that's part of what we're shedding, is in order to bring ourselves into this community. It isn't like, we have to do these huge things and work hard like we've been taught. It's more like letting go of that idea that I or we are not good enough or somehow inferior, and realize that we have this connection at a DNA level, a spiritual DNA level and beyond, that we're all co-creators of the multiverse, and that we are moving towards a convergence point, I feel, where we're coming together very quickly to a point where we can consciously co-create, instead of constantly be running around with our own individual agendas, trying to feel better and, greedily have our own money or whatever it is, having that bigger picture. And it's wonderful when you think about that, this much bigger community is there, watching and waiting, sending love.
Exactly. And it is so time for us to shed our stories, our old stories, just like serpent sheds her skin.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, one of my favorites, the serpent energies. So, well, I had, thank you, Michelle. She says your scarf looks good. This is not my look, but it's better than a bandage.
She's
so,
right.
They totally forgot. What is the way that people can begin to, if they feel drawn to the idea of ETs or star nations or star people, or, one of the sessions I do with people are star seed type sessions but oftentimes just in any kind of soul journey, we will go to another life. And like you said, often they are on another planet, or they're a star being that consciously came here to be in a body, like your Mayan shamaness that you mentioned. And it's one of the things I love being here with the Mayans and the Aztecs and getting to know them and doing ceremony with them and doing retreat with them, is to go deeper into that. They walked in two worlds. They didn't see themselves as physical. They knew that they were spiritual and physical. And they watched the stars not because they were superstitious, but because they had the wisdom to understand time and sacred movement and measure. And that is a connection that we have to these star nations. So what are some of the things that you can share with people on how they could come into understanding where this might be an important part of their path?
Absolutely. I would say, first of all, I literally just put together a free gift for people. So anybody who's interested in star seedness, we'll call it, you can, I think you have the link. I know it's galactic-shaman.net, and I can't remember the rest of it. Excuse me, galactic-shaman.com. But anyway, if you'll put it in the show notes, what it is it's a 2-hour video. And I'm with the spectacular Debbie Solaris. If you don't know her, you will. She's amazing. She's just like a plug into the cosmos. And we did a 2-hour video together, just like deep diving into star seeds. And it comes with a 21-page report. And what both of these do is break down 19 different star seeds. That's a pretty decent amount, so that people like yourselves could find yourself in the material. Oh, I look like that. Oh, I have those gifts. Oh, I have those proclivities. Oh, I have those weaknesses. Oh, I have those strengths. Yes, I'm drawn to that career. And it's amazing. It's really amazing that you start to see yourself. When I was first told I was of the lion people, and that is my predominant in this lifetime, the Lyran beings, like, it fits so deeply. And I'm going to be super transparent. So on the one hand, yes, I think creativity is my number one, just all of who I am. And so much good comes out of being a lion being. But I will also tell you that it, like, just, I don't know, like 5 months ago, I had this huge aha, and I realized, oh, the thing that has crushed me the most in this life has been the betrayal of people.
Oh, yeah.
And having to move. That a situation doesn't work out with a roommate, with a lover, whatever it is. And it's like, I gotta move. I gotta move. I know nobody probably loves change like that, but I mean, I was devastated. It was so difficult for me. And I suddenly realized, oh my God, they blew up our planet. And the Lyrans had to move as refugees to other planets and start all over again. And I went, whoa, dude, that has got to be healed, because that is really showing up in this lifetime, that pattern. So all of that to say, there is such profound learnings. Most of us don't even feel like we're from here. We felt, at some point in our lives, like weird in this meat suit. And then you start to realize why, like, oh, I don't just have a lineage, like, 90% European and 5% da-da. No, it's so much deeper than that. Like, you have this huge, enormous galactic lineage. And I think that's where the freedom begins, to really learn about yourself from that aspect.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely. So we're looking for that link. We'll put it down below if we don't find it beforehand. Wow, I love that idea of letting people feel into that sense of who they are. Because a lot of what we're talking about, right? Shamanism and going on your path and listening to the call of spirit and understanding your star lineage and all these different things are all ways of making sense of the life that you are conscious of, and putting together these different pieces, like, oh, that's why. Oh, that's why. Oh, there. Oh, okay. This makes sense now. I feel at peace now. I feel whole now. And I think about 3 months now, 4 months now, a lot of information, master classes, sessions, and stuff that I've been doing has been around soul lineages. And I do a lot of past life things, have for a very long time, even before I knew if I believed in them. However, the idea of soul lineages, right, and spiritual DNA, and that being something that is, like you said, this ancestral, I'm this or that, I never cared. I'm adopted. And so all they told my parents was that I was Irish, Scottish, and German. And I was always like, oh, it's cold there. I want to be Greek and Italian. So really, it wasn't until constantly over and over the Celtic lineage within me came forward. But I never really was like, oh, one of my ancestors. Oh, there's a picture of my grandmother. Of course, my adoptive family has that, but it wasn't relevant to me. But to have this expanded family and this expanded understanding of who you are and what could come from that into your awareness that would give you peace, that would help you be able to release the trauma, right? And, you were talking about an ayahuasca journey where it was kind of rough. Woo-hoo, I know that one. But it was all about really clearing and cleaning energy with your mother. Mm-hmm. And then having the ability to be with her in a completely different way before she left the body, which of course we don't have to heal it before that. However, what an incredible gift. And that idea that she's your mother, but she's not your only mother.
Mm. Right? That's so true. Oh my God. Thank you for saying that. It's one of the most profound relationships in my life today, Nan, is Mother Earth, Pachamama. And it's because of shamanism that I was going out in the backyard every day. I was letting the roots go out. My whole body became like mycelium going into the depths of the earth. And I started to breathe with her and I started to communicate with her. And I would feel so nested and loved and held. And then I would ask her things and gain all this wisdom. And it was tremendously healing for me to have a mother figure, a goddess figure, a priestess figure, and beyond at that level, who was accessible to me, who was aware of me and cared. And so, yes. Like all of these things that in 3D, we think, a lot of people don't realize that realm, it lives and breathes. It is real and there is no separation. So yeah, best mother ever.
Yeah. It is such an incredible experience to go through that. I love my adoptive mother. She's raised me. She disowned me during my divorce, and we didn't speak for about 8 years. So that was a really good healing, being completely disowned. And I had a daughter who died, and then I adopted my twins. So I have this very interesting makeup, mother-daughter, and all of this stuff, which of course is part of your power, right? Your unique story gives you a perspective other people don't have. And when you accept it, that really happens. But what happened for me is that my mom's German and she's very practical, but she never sat down and played with you. She never was super lovey-dovey, right? But she always wants to make sure you're okay. So it's a different kind of love. And what I wanted was the kind of mother I was, which is all huggy, touchy, play, let's all get together and do that. And after my daughter died, I finally heard the call after many times trying to go towards the goddess or the Wiccan realm and feeling the fear, which I now understand is all the old fear of being burned at the stake and all the rest of that. But every time I would pick up a book about it, I'd be like so fascinated, and then I would get sick to my stomach and feel this horrible energy in my womb and be like, no. And so after my daughter died, I moved to a new city, and I found a goddess group, a Reformed Congregation of the Goddess, which I was in for 16 years. And I had never experienced that kind of female love, that kind of just being brought in and held in loving, not just physically arms, but that sense of having that mother in a way, or that loving presence in a way. And then of course, since then, all the different levels of the goddess and the great goddess and the Earth Mother and, Gaia and all of the different things that happen from there. And I think it's one of the big wounds, that we are all healing, because we all feel separate from the divine creator, goddess, mother. And now I have one of my downloads this last weekend was really an interesting another level of opening the mysteries. And it was like, we talk a lot about balancing the masculine and feminine now, right? The sacred man. It's a big conversation, people talking about it. Great. So what does that actually mean? Well, what they were taking me into was saying that, subconscious and conscious. Conscious is masculine, subconscious is feminine. When you go to sleep, you're in the subconscious realm. When you meditate or you go to shamanic journeys or you pray or you do one of these expanded experiences, you're in the subconscious. So you're in the realm of the sacred feminine. And that's what we are balancing both, but we're bringing back. And it took a new level of me to, having gone through so many of these ceremonies and things where I felt held by the Divine Mother. And that this was, wow, there's a level of unconditional love that we can't comprehend because we don't see it modeled in the world. And maybe we've had these individual experiences, but there's a part of us that really feels like not quite trusting that we're good enough, right, for that, or there's something else. There may be an agenda behind it. You're good enough today, but tomorrow I'm mad at you. Those are the kind of relationships. So it was the idea that you create your reality. Okay, we all know that. What you think and feel. Okay, great. If you go to sleep, if you go into a meditation, if you go into some form of altered state, and you're entering the sacred feminine realm, you're entering that realm. If you go in there, not that you can't go, especially in ayahuasca, and bring up your fears. However, if you do that and you're bringing your fear, you're bringing your not enoughness, you're bringing all of those things, then what she says is, to me, this is what I was shown, is it's the great mother, it's a great goddess. And she's saying, come on, just come into my arms. And what we think is that, oh, she'll fix everything for us. She'll love me unconditionally. She'll hold me. And I don't have to clean up my thoughts. I don't have to take responsibility. I just lay into her arms and she'll love me up and I'll receive that nurturing, which we all need. And then I'll wake up and I'll come back into the world and everything will be fine. But that's where the big mistake is happening, because sacred feminine is receptive and never judges, never tells you what to do. It just says you're perfect. You want to be full of fear. You want to be full of disease. You want whatever you're bringing. I'll make it happen. I'll manifest it. I'll birth it. I'll gestate it. I'll create it. And then I'll birth it. And then you go into your conscious realm and there's something taking form, whether it's a day or years, to create that reality. So the idea of this divine mother being pure, I call it the galactic goddess. It's the 13th chakra. Unconditional love that accelerates your healing, but it also accelerates your manifestation because you're the one that brings in what's to be created. So this idea that we have love available and pure acceptance exactly as we are. And that is what gives us the space to start cleaning up the things that we're carrying around, if that makes sense.
It's beautiful. Yeah, of course it makes sense. And I think the one thing we can get from the Great Mother is just to rest easy. I mean, how many of us have arms that love us so deeply and passionately that we can just like fall apart, fall back, just be held and like feel that love. And I think it's really important. That is a tremendous gift that she gives us, and a tremendous healing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stacy has a question. She says, besides celebrating with me, because we do a Lionsgate thing, what are your recommendations for celebrating the Lionsgate coming up on 8/8?
Oh man, I am for sure going to do a ceremony personally. So Lionsgate is my dog's birthday, by the way. And so we're going to have a little party for her. And I always do a ceremony on auspicious days like this because that is the day of great manifestation. And I think it's time to harness, like I would create lists All the stuff I'm giving up. Like, what does not bring me joy? What is not joyful? What is not a contribution in my life? This person, that situation, this clothing, this place that I live, this job that I do, whatever it is, I would be really mindful about it and put that together and burn it in a fire. If you have safe, by the way, if you can't bury it somewhere, to be transmuted, and then create a list and do a beautiful ceremony. What are you manifesting? What are you intending? And know that everything is aligned for you on 8/8 to bring that in powerfully. And you can bring beautiful herbs and oils and crystals and all sorts of things. And again, I mean, I burn my lists like that, or I bury them aground, or you can go to the mountains and put them in a river, because spirit is aware. They know exactly what you're asking for, and they love you and they see you and they want you to have it. And so they're working with you while you do the ceremony and intend, you know. One of the things I did with my class is I introduced them each to their spirit animal, their power animal. And so now I have them wake up first thing in the morning. And this is what I do after Lionsgate. When they wake up first thing in the morning, you know, it's not the usual whatever we do. But instead, the first thing they do is lay there and sort of look over to know, like, their power animal is right there. And to remember all these beautiful attributes that this animal came to be here and do for you. And if you don't know what yours is, just, you know, ask and accept what comes up. Because having a power animal going forward, super powerful. Like, mine shocked me. I was working with a shaman, a female shaman here in the town I live in the mountains. And she was having me do a journey, and I was supposed to gather these things, and I was in a cave. And all of a sudden I felt this tremendous presence. And I looked to my right, and there was this enormous brown bear. And he roared. My hair was blowing back, but there was no malice at all. I felt something wondrous. And he got down on all his fours, and he stayed with me the whole time. And when I was leaving, you know, the shaman didn't even know this was going on. And when I was supposed to leave the cave, I turned to him and I said, "Wow, thank you. I'm going to leave you right now." And I kept walking, and he said, "No, I am with you forever." And so when I came out, you know, I shared it with the shaman, and she said, "Whoa, that was unexpected, but you just met your power animal." And I looked up the power animal to understand it. I was like, what? I would have never said that. Like, you gave me 30 animals to choose from, I would have never picked a bear. But when I looked up bear medicine, the level of protection, the level of ferocity and play and gentility and loyal, I was like, done. Like, bucket list. Thank you. Right? So,
and motherly love.
yes, that's true. You would never want to get in the way of a cub and a mother
Mama bear. Exactly. That absolute.
Yes, sweet. But anyway, that's my recommendation. Burn what no longer serves you and be mindful about letting it go. Bring in and intend on that powerful, powerful day. Then ask for your spirit animal. And then make sure when you go to bed, that spirit animal is with you. When you wake up, there will come a point you won't have to do that, because you'll always know when you make any decision that you have someone to confer with who really has your best interests at heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love cats. I've always loved cats. And my first spirit animal, my totem, was a deer. And it was brand new to all of this. And it was in New Mexico. And I got the medicine cards. I'd never seen that oracle deck in my life. This was before the internet, you know. And but I love deer. I always had that connection to the sweetness and the softness and the gentleness of life. And then later, dolphin came through. And when I was pregnant with Jordan, I was on a wild dolphin swim, and I'd been trying to get pregnant for 8 years. So I didn't know it. And the dolphins were constantly around me. And so that became a whole thing. And then after she died, you know, dolphin just kept coming. But the biggest power, well, right now, the power animal that is the biggest for me is the jaguar. And the jaguar, of course, for the Maya and, for most of the indigenous cultures, some form of jaguar is very, very important. It's one of the guardians of the directions and one of the more iconic things. But what really blew my mind was, like you said, that idea that they're always there, but they show up in these synchronistic ways. Mm-hmm. And everything fell apart in my business and my life the minute I decided to leave the country and travel the world and work from anywhere, because my kids were finally settled. And then all the plans we had made for our business fell apart in a beautiful and epic way. And I arrived here in Playa del Carmen, ready to spend 2 months and then move on, go to Indonesia and wherever. 9 years later, I'm still here. I own a house on the beach. And one of my most psychic and amazing clients called me up and she said, don't go looking for the shaman. They'll find you. And the jaguar will connect with you once you go to the jungle. And I'm like, okay. It's not like any of those things were on my mind at the time, although I did think I needed to get back to Egypt to go to a pyramid and do a retreat. And here I am in the middle of a million pyramids. So that was a aha. And then I met a woman with the dolphin center and started doing these, epic healing retreats with the dolphins and all that. But the jaguar keeps coming. And every time that we do a ceremony, every time that I gather together different ceremony leaders and different things that we've done, I've received 8 different jaguar medicine initiations, and was told this last year, really shocked me, because become a very good friend, my Aztec friend who has a Mayan wife, and they do our ceremonies and we co-create, okay, this is our topic, and we go do this incredible jungle ceremony with dancers and all their things. And I said, he said, whenever I leave the house, I always look around and see who wants to come with, especially for you. And showed up, this was about a year ago. And we came into the temple and they got everything ready and they're copaling us and all the wonderful things are happening and so on. And we sit down and he starts to talk. And the next thing he says, this isn't me presenting to you. We have to be one. You must come into the ceremony. We have to come into the circle, come closer in. And then he pulls out a jaguar skull that was gifted to him from real Maya shaman in the jungle. And he said, this is what spoke to me, and said, you, and he hands it to me, you're leading the meditation. And I held this jaguar skull and it felt like, like these tendrils just going up into my arms and downloading into me and took over. And it was just beyond belief. And I don't have a recording. I don't know what came through me, but it was stunning. And then we put it to our third eye and our heart and handed it around the circle to everybody. It was just one of those, I didn't plan it, mind-blowing things. And the last one we just did in March, I said, all the animals. I want all the animals. So he had dancers with jaguar dress and dancers with, I can't even remember now, crocodile and snake and just all these different incredible animals dancing and coming in. And at the end, this one guy is just dancing. And he comes over in front of Chris and I, and he's doing this and he goes, boom, and he hands us each a piece of a jaguar skin, a pelt. And afterwards, I just was like, what? And he goes, you're a jaguar medicine woman. And someone gave those to me a long time ago, and I knew they weren't for me. So they've been sitting in a drawer. And when I left to come to ceremony, I said, what's for Nan? And they said, this is for you. So those power animals can come to you over and over and open doors and bring you into a deeper level of your own powers and your own beauty of your own life. So I couldn't agree more.
That's so beautiful. What a story. And I love, and I concur that the synchronicities keep happening. Jaguar is powerful medicine. I mean, you don't want to mess with a jaguar. I think that's pretty clear. Also, the fact that when jaguars sleep, they will climb up a tree and be on a branch. So they have the perfect vision of everything down below, but they're safe up on the tree. They love their families, right? They're very family oriented, but they often walk alone. And you think about this beautiful, peaceful place they call home, called the jungle, which is very much like where we live, right? And they're very self-possessed, and they're very clear about their yes and no. There's no ambiguity with the jaguar, and they hold the medicine for life and death, literally.
Yeah.
So if you ever need to make peace with death because it's scary to you or something's happening with somebody, then you can turn to Jaguar and ask for help with the Rainbow Bridge. They know the way.
Yeah. Yeah, what I learned from the Maya is that they look to the jaguar to teach them how to live. They look at that as the mother of teaching you how to live in a body on earth, because they walk silently and no one, they will not be seen unless they want to be seen. They'll see you, but you don't know they're there. Mm-hmm. And when we've had experiences where we enter the jaguar and we're walking, and you can feel that as they touch the ground, they're literally like almost sinking in and are one with earth. And they've given us that vision to see through dark. So not just literally like, oh, it's dark out at night, but to see through your own fear, your own pain, other people's manipulations, any form of darkness. And like you said, to cross that constant cycle that we have into death. And so, yeah, it's such a fun topic. Oh my God, I should go on and on, but I really want to see what you have to say about this question. So Stacy said, all of the above, everything you recommended for Lionsgate, beautiful, wonderful. But she said, I need a new life. Can I call in a walk-in to take over? And I said, okay, you don't want to be here anymore? So what do you have to share about that interesting idea?
Yeah, that I feel like getting out I actually have candles, but I feel like getting out my feather, because I felt a lot of hucha with that. I felt a lot of heavy energy with that. Mm-hmm. I just, of course, I want to share my love with you, because that's a very painful thing, to be in a life that you are not wanting to be in. I absolutely would like to insist and suggest that you do not invite a walk-in, because you do not know from what dimension or what malevolence or benevolence that walk-in would be. And you don't ever want to be a portal, an empty vessel for another being to come in. You have been put here for great purpose, my love. If you haven't found that purpose, that's another thing. But you have been put here for great purpose. Otherwise, you would not be here today. And your job, if you will accept it, is to find out what it is for you to do. I'll tell you, Stacy, that when this acting thing came up for me, and I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show, but I was a professional actress and singer, and I suddenly, it was painful. I was getting cast in movies, and I wasn't wanting to memorize lines. I wasn't wanting to flesh out my character. That's crazy. That's where you start with every script you get. And I mean, it was the biggest year for me, and I was flat dead. I had no idea what to do with myself, and I had no idea who I was. If I'm not this, and I've been this since I'm a tiny kid, everybody I went to school with knows me as that. So I surrendered. It was so painful and awkward. I surrendered, but I followed energy. It's the one thing I did right, and I thank the goddess for that. Every time something presented, didn't matter what it was, but if I got the feeling inside of my belly, I went for it. So Toastmasters, learning how to speak, I did that for 3 years. I started making jewelry, and I started selling it in stores, and I did that for 5 years. I suddenly had a band come along and say, well, if you're not doing that, would you like to do this with us? Okay. And I just started doing things. And I was kind of clear the whole time. This is awesome, but it's not it. This is awesome, but it's not it. But I was having fun. I was having a lot of fun, even not knowing. And then it took 3.5 years for finally, I was doing voiceovers for cartoons. I freaking loved it. And that's how radio came in my life. That's how the divine finally set it up and said, oh, this girl, she's a lot. And so they put an ad for radio and said, we're looking for a host. And I said, that's how I'll get my voice out there even more. And of course, it was for different reasons. But now I look back at my crazy switchback journey and say, everything I acquired contributed to the knowledge of who I am now and the ability for me to do what I do out in the world. I have zero regrets because it was a really amazing journey. I've had a lot of lifetimes. But please, Stacy, if you feel like you need a new life, get one. Choose it. You can be anybody you want to be, anything you want to be. And obviously with harm to none, right? Including yourself. But you might want to do a little bit of work first to release some of this heaviness you're carrying that I'm feeling. And just, if you work with a really great healer, they can also help you once that is released to put a lot of illumination there, a lot of love and a lot of light, so that you can start this journey. You're on a journey and it's exciting.
Yeah, and that's true for everybody. There's this perception that, oh, those people have it perfect, and these people on social media, oh, they have everything and I don't have anything, or if I was doing it right, or if I was meant to have it, everything would be right. And it's not that anything, like you said, the journey is maybe, maybe not, okay. And then at one point when everything deconstructs, I've had all these massive deconstructions where, okay, everything fell apart, time to go in a new direction. And that ego mind said, it's a waste. Everything I did was a waste. All these, experience I have, all this college I had, all this, contacts I have is a waste. It's never a waste. Right. And your new life is what's birthing or growing out of the compost of everything that you've experienced. And it's multidimensional, goes through all the different lives. It's not just what you've experienced here. So yeah, I that was just beautiful. Thank you, Debbie. I love that idea. You really do not want to hand over to anyone else your beautiful sacred container that you really had to do a lot to create, to come into your body. And this is a moment when we're all supposed to have the crisis of identity, right? We're all supposed to reach that completion of everything we were taught and thought we were and move into something new. And discovering who you are will and can be really exciting, even though in the moment, like Debbie was saying, like you said about your journey was like, well, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that. All those things were leading you. The journey is never like this, boom, boom, that masculine energy of like straight done. Okay, next, it's this and then that and then this and then that and this and then that. And so, yeah, discovering that. I love the idea of doing the ceremony. Now, everybody realize that tomorrow you've got a few amazing things happening before we come to Lionsgate on 8/8. Tomorrow is the 1st of August, which if you're a goddess girl or you're into the cycles of nature, is Lammas or Lugnasa, which is the harvest day. It's a celebration of the harvest. And what is that? That's celebrating the fruits of your labor. That's celebrating the gold grain, the bread of life. It's celebrating everything that you've done coming to fruition and receiving that and enjoying that in some way. And then on Sunday, we have the new moon. So we have steps to, enjoying the completion, planting new seeds. And the dark times of like the new moon isn't just for like happily planting seeds, of recognizing it's like going into the earth, going into the womb, and what happens there. It's the same thing. What I love about the divine feminine is it's death and birth. It's not, oh, death is bad, let's just have birth, birth, birth. It's like loving every part of the cycle. So you're dying to who you were. You want a new life? Yeah, you're ready for a new life. It's more like that, I think.
Absolutely. That was beautifully said. Yes. And the new moon, I always do the rite of the womb. Don't know if you guys know that, but it's a shamanic practice and where I honor the feminine. And I do always invite men to join when I do the fire ceremony because they came from a woman. They were a woman in another life and they're there to stand for the women. And so it's important that they are included if they would like to. And the new moon is great for women who no longer have their menses. And, we pour wine, red wine, to signify blood into the ground. We always write up what it is we want to create. And we always do this beautiful ceremony with our hands on the womb, speaking. The womb is not a place to have fear and pain. The womb is the place to create and make life. And so that means, right, also everything, Stacy creating her new life is life. You know, everything she does along the path is life. So yeah, these ceremonies, these rituals are so beautiful and meaningful and can really change your life. Like, don't underestimate the ancestors that show up for you and know who you are and what you're going through.
Yeah. Yeah, she said that she'd only heard about good walk-ins. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but you weren't thinking about the other ones. And I don't want to leave my kids in the hands of someone else too. Well, here's the thing is, you made a promise to your soul. You made a promise to all of us. You made a promise. I firmly believe that you do not end up in a body by accident. You're not here to be punished. You're not here for any reason other than you said, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to come right now when things are going to get crazy. I'm not here for a mundane existence. And that's what we've been given up till now. There's no way for even muggles to have that anymore right now, right? They really have to, hey, what the hell's going on here? And yeah, so it's like we were taught to hand away our power. We were taught to, oh, would somebody just rescue me? Someone just tell me what to do? Or somebody just, take over? Someone just pay me? And now is the time for owning your own power. So, and like you said, Debbie, maybe you can speak to this a little bit before we close, is the idea that we have shamanism in a sense, the traditions are very, very deeply steeped in ritual and in rites of passage. And we don't have those in a lot of our cultures. One of my best friends was Jewish, and she got to have a bat mitzvah. And I came from a culture that didn't do anything. There was no acknowledgement of my puberty or my womanhood or any of these things. And there's even the other sense of, like those experiences that we're meant to go through, if we skip them, if we miss them, or if we feel incomplete in a particular cycle in life, there's something missing. But we can go through time and space. It's not impossible. There is really no time. We can go through that and go back to these places where you missed or you need a ritual like what Debbie's talking about or what we do on our classes.
Yeah. We're not here by accident. We are definitely here by choice and because we were allowed to. There was a huge line of souls who said, oh my God, you want me to go down to the shit show called Ascension, where politics are going to be crazy? There's going to be wars. There's going to be like insane things done to people. I mean, Nan, I'm sure you've even heard, we have heard here in this household about the conservatives who are like up in arms because the end of the Olympics, they dared to, try to put some levity in there and inclusiveness and include some, I guess it was drag queens. And oh my God, people, really? So all these, I'm not about that. So meaning I'm not about the judgment stuff and all this up in arms and religiosity. But I will say that there was like rows of souls, and we were amongst them, who said, put me in the game, coach, put me in the game. I can do this. I know it's going to be hard. I know Earth is dense. I know I'm going to have my work cut out for me. And maybe it's not going to be fun from time to time, but I got the chops. I'm going to go there with my piece of the puzzle of heaven there on Earth. Let me. And why did they choose me or you or Stacy or anybody else amongst all the souls? Because there was a waiting line and they didn't get in. So don't give up on yourself. And yes, use rituals, even if it's like we talked about cards, and I love cards. I have so many sets. And even if you just use cards and pick a card, find your spirit animal and start to engage with it. Do the practice I said, like be stronger than your excuses and go out in a park or your front yard, your backyard every day, 5 minutes, put your feet in the grass and ground yourself. See your roots come out of the bottom of your feet and feel yourself breathing and nesting with Mother Earth. Especially if you're a mother, you need to be loved too. You need to be taken care of, and just let her connect with you. Tell her everything that's going on that you're upset about and everything you're grateful about. And if you need to ask her, her suggestions. Let her tell you, let her hold you, let her love you. And when you're done, come back in and you'll see it'll set up your day in the most beautiful way.
Yeah, absolutely. There is so much support 24/7 all around us. Every form of nature, crystal, water, sun, moon, animal, ancients, ancestors, you name it. It's just constant. And there's, you don't want to tune into all of it, but there's definitely the medicine and the messenger there that is right for you in every moment, even if you don't feel it, even if you don't sense it. Come to the Intuition Awakening Summer Camp starting in a little bit and get that. And the trauma that we're carrying too. I know for sure after seeing it so many times that we aren't just experiencing our own trauma, that this trauma we're bringing up out of the earth that we're releasing, and this judgment you talked about. I don't watch the news. I hear a little bit through Chris. He was the one who said, hey, I found a replay of the opening ceremony, so let's watch. And he said that. He told me, well, of course, there were people who were upset that there was transgenders or something in it. And I go, well, people are, like that are so wanting to keep control over everybody. They want to tell everybody what to do. They're afraid of everything. They don't like themselves. And there's a whole list of things. And to judge anything as wrong is the second lowest state of consciousness. Blame and judgment. So I don't want to live there. I'm not going there. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic. They had musicians and artists, and they had a fashion show going on, and everything was raining at the same time. And they would go back and forth, and there were men in gowns, and some man with a beard and long hair wearing a beautiful ball gown. And there was young girls, and there was an old lady, and there was Lady Gaga with feathers. And it was just all this amazingness. And I said, oh, I can understand, why somebody said that, because you can see it. But he told me, and I don't know if this is true, that it wasn't until the very end they had the Greek god Dionysus, okay, which is the god of wine, the god of theater, the god of pleasure and celebration, one of the most beloved gods, was what upset people. And it was a man in a blue skin-tight leotard, to me, blue, laying in a bowl of fruit. He didn't look transgender at all. And I was like, he's a god. What is going on here? But, you can find anything to judge, right? You can find anything to be upset about. And so it's an opportunity for you too, if you're judging yourself, right? If you're saying, I need a new life and I want someone else to take over, then you're also putting that state of consciousness on yourself, and the beauty that you carry, it is waiting for you to acknowledge it and bloom in some way that you've probably never experienced before.
You can tell that we coach people and we work with people and help heal. You can tell. This is like, we can do an hour show. Just
good.
But it's love. It's all love. And we've all been in a poopy place, and you always rise. You do rise above. You do make it to, and let me tell you, when you make it to the other side, you're like, oh, thank God I didn't do anything stupid. Because, the thoughts are there when it's tough, of course. But, hold on, get help, get cleared, and get a vision, get a better vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here is the link, and we're going to Galactic Shaman and so on. We're going to make sure that it's in the YouTube description as well. And you can find Debbie too. We've already got her link down there below. So what would you like to leave us with?
What would I like to leave you with? Such a good question. I think the idea of what you focus on is really important right now. So, for instance, in my world, there's people who talk about extraterrestrials, but they talk about all this, really negative stuff. But I have to say, I've never had an experience like that. And that is not to diss that they have. But I will just say that what you focus on creates. And so pay attention to that. That, if you're tired, if you're exhausted, if you feel uncomfortable, spend time with your dog or your cat. They're the most amazing unconditional love. Go to the beach, go to the mountains, and let them serve you, right? And just be really careful, I think, when we focus on following our greatest excitement, something that intrigues us, excites us, things happen. My whole life has changed from that premise alone. I haven't done anything more righter than anybody else, except I did pay attention to stuff. And I have my house astrology. I'm a Cancer with a Scorpio moon and a Leo rising, but my house of relationships is, I know, hello. My house of relationships is in Gemini, and it takes a lot because I get bored a lot. It takes a lot to stimulate me, but I am grateful for that aspect because it allows me to like be hungry, be interested, be eclectic. And so you can do that too, whatever it is. And it can be as simple as anything, but just follow your joy. And then with anything else going on with people's situations, you don't have to pay attention. There's also so much beauty and good and wonderment. Like I'll never have a lifetime enough to have all the experiences I would like to experience. Focus on that. Amen, a woman.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. It's like, what? I don't have time to do all the wonderful things that are out there that I want to, or maybe I will have time. No. So beautiful. Well, thank you. So Michelle says thank you, and Christine says thank you, and Stacy. So you know where we are, and I do want to encourage all of you to really take to heart everything Debbie shared, because she looks glamorous and beautiful and successful, and she knows who she is, and she's doing what she loves. But her journey to get there wasn't that she knew, wasn't like, oh, I know exactly who I am, and I'm going to just go there, and then this step will happen. And she was never feeling confused or uncertain, or even having to go through difficult journeys, which we've all had. And ceremony, just talk to Gaia, talk to Mother Earth, talk to everything, and do a ceremony for yourself in such a beautiful way. Well, would you share your dragon with us?
Oh, he would love that.
Yeah. Look. Or your two dragons. I'm sure you have more, but
you do. Well, Albatrax, I want you to come meet everybody.
Hello, baby.
This is my dragon. This is one of my protectors. I told the shaman this, and he's like, "You don't have dragon in your." I said, "Yes, I do." And I'm a Viking. But this, I love this guy. He's white onyx. He's freaking heavy. Yeah, and I feel very protected. And I'll show you my other. Oh, thank you for including them. They're so excited. They don't get to be included very much. And this, oh, another heavy one. Okay, so this is a dragon's egg. And when you turn it around, there's a baby dragon. He just born.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
And he's going to fly and figure out his life. And if you can't tell, I'm really into dragons. I really do love them. I think they're so mythical and magical and powerful and all of that.
Yeah. Well, and also, I want to make sure that we mention that Debbie and I are both speaking at the Glastonbury Ascension, Portal to Ascension conference in September in England. And that's the home of a lot of dragon energy, right? So we got dragon lines, and we've got Pendragons and dragons, and mystical experiences and goddesses and all kinds
Mary
of
Magdalene, King Arthur. I mean, it's going to be amazing. And I can't wait to give you a huge hug in person.
I'm so excited. So actually, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Mary Magdalene. When you were telling Stacy, about, the life, I did a channeling. She came to me on, I guess, her feast day or something. I'm aware of her, but she's more of a goddess to me, more of a divine feminine energy. And she was standing in my room when I woke up, and I'm like, oh, hello. So I want to speak. I said, okay. So I just channeled this whole thing through. And of course, I got a few comments from people who are very religious and said, you're a big fat liar, and, all this stuff. But basically, her message was about pure love. And she said, I came here knowing my journey. I came here knowing it was going to be hard. And I still wanted to do it because I came to prove that you could walk consciously, fully aware of the suffering that you were going to go through, and yet still hold love enough to understand and show people that resurrection, eternal life, is And it just is. It's just who you are. You're constantly being through that. And she also said, I'm not your mother. I'm your sister. I'm standing right by your side and I'm holding your hand. There isn't anything you can't do.
That's so beautiful. I'm so into Mary Magdalene. And as someone who was raised Jewish, I had no connection with any of that stuff. And then I read Tom Kenyon's book, The Magdalene Manuscript. Have you read it?
Oh, I don't know. I read 2 or 3 of them many years ago. So it depends. Tom Kenyon has been around a while. Is it older?
It is, but not that old. I highly recommend it. He wrote it with his wife, Judy, and it is channeled. It just like what you just did. Holy moly. I mean, powerful, powerful. Changed my life because the moment I finished the book, look, and I'm not like Mrs. Past Life. I'm not at all. And I put down the book and I went, oh my God, I was there in Egypt. I was in the sacred sexuality temple, the temple of Isis. I know Mary. I had all these downloads going on. I was like, this is crazy and awesome. And so he's actually supposed to come on my show, Tom Kenyon.
Nice.
And I have to follow up with the guy. He's not the best with email, but I really want to talk to him. He's phenomenal. But Mary Magdalene is beautiful. I'm sorry you went through that with naysayers, but
oh, it doesn't matter. I'm not shocked at all. Yeah. And there's a whole other level, right, of her, what she embodies. It's not this structure thing and all that. It's the idea that the stories around taking away and demonizing women and calling you a whore when you're really a queen, and all these kinds of things, and then being pure love through all of it. But there's another level, the Templars, right? They built almost every single sacred church or temple to her secretly or outwardly. And knowing that the idea of the bloodline isn't just literal, it's also that Mary and her first husband, John the Baptist, she had a lot of children. And when he was killed, Jesus stepped in because he was a relative. And that's the way their culture worked. And so this idea, though, that they're representing also the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine coming together, just like Isis and Osiris and Horus and Mary and Jesus and Joseph, and just all the different kinds of ideas of that eternal life, that we're eternal.
Yes.
So beautiful. That I did read a book, and I don't remember what it was called, but it was about how Mary and Jesus and John were on this mission, because as consciously knowing what they were going to go through, and to prove to everybody that you are, you're divine, and that you don't die. And to have to hold your emotional body in such a way that when you see someone you love being tortured and blamed and going through suffering, and we can translate that to our own suffering in life, is that you're not supposed to fall into seeing them as a victim, that you have to hold that divinity and say, this is a path that we're on, and it has nothing to do with the meaning of truth. It's how we handle what comes to us. So beautiful. I'm so excited. I found this little church that we're going to go to that is not many people know, for Mary Magdalene, that was built on top of an old stone circle, of course.
Oh, Nan, it's going to be an amazing trip if anybody wants to join us. I mean, Glastonbury it's just not just Nan and I, it's 3 days, actually 4, including some of the special workshops the last day, back to back, unbelievable presentations. Check out this URL, ascensionglastonbury.com, and you'll know a lot of the speakers and the subjects, and the guy also, the event producer, and he's so much more than that, Neil. I mean, he knows how to put together an event. He does such a great job. I've never been there, so I'm excited. And yes, let's all manifest that trip so we could be there together. We're going to visit, there are tours too. We're going to visit sacred sites, and there's going to be presentations, and there's going to be an opening. We'll have our own opening and closing in blue leotards and stuff.
Right. We're going to be the goddess and the god with our blue Syrian skin. I don't know. Wonderful. Crazy. So, well, thank you so much, sweetie. I know you're so busy, and I feel so blessed to know you, to connect with you, and to have you come and share with us. And I know everybody here is just like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to manifest that trip. Your dragons are awesome. Stacy said the Mary Magdalene channeling was great. I had an out-of-body experience with her. Okay, way to go. Yeah. So beautiful dragon egg. Ooh, yes. So thank you again, and appreciate you, your journey, your sharing, your visibility, your willingness to walk through all of these things and to share with others and to lift up everyone and Gaia. So appreciate you.
Anytime, Nan. And here's to many more with you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everybody. So remember that we have the, I'm also doing a retreat after the conference, and we're going to be doing some really amazing sacred work, going to the sacred circles with some expert goddess druid women. And also the Intuition Awakening summer camp is coming up, and some new downloads have come in around that. Is learning how to see the trauma in the emotional body and release it, learning how to see and sense the density that is being put out in front of you so you can decide how to lessen the future timeline you're headed towards that you don't want and increase the density of the future timeline that you would like, and many other things. So you know where I am. You can always reach out to me, and remember to reach out to Debbie, get her free gift. I'm going to get that free gift. All right. Take care, everybody. Namaste. Bye-bye.